Okay, let's... I didn't close it, right? Oh, I closed it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so today I wanted to sort of do a redo of what I did yesterday because I feel like I was a bit disorganized. This one I also didn't prepare for at all. Here, let me turn down this music. So distracting me a little bit. Damn, it's so loud. If I can have it at like 1. Okay. And then let me add a filter to this to increase the gain, just so I don't have to hear it, but it's not like completely silent for you guys. Yeah, I think somewhere around there is good. Okay. Oh no, I didn't apply it, I think. No, I did. Oh, that was it. It was just a short song. Okay. So, the last time I streamed this, there was a couple things that I didn't do. I just felt a bit disorganized because I felt like the project was a little bit too big in scope. And I didn't cover some stuff that, you know, you would imagine you would cover if you're a beginner. So this project, we're going to add on to it. But if this is your first time making a game, you do not have to worry. You don't have to watch the other 3-hour long video, long live stream, in order to follow along. I'll basically be making it from scratch, not using any code that we used previously. Because we're basically, what we're going to do, this is the idea, is we're going to make maybe this into a series. So you're going to have 3 mini games, right? 1, 2, 3. And I already have an idea for the next one. And we're going to make like a main menu, learn how to switch between scenes. And then we're also going to develop those 2 other games. And they're really simple games that you don't have to be intimidated. But here, sorry, let me just adjust this. And then let me change this to 250, was it? Okay, and I have to restart. So if this is your first time ever working with Unity, we're going to be using Unity 6. Go ahead and download it, make a new project. And when you make a new project, really quick, make sure that you select Universal 2D Core, and then you just name it and put it wherever you want. We already have this project set up, and this was the old previous game. It's a text adventure where you can click between different buttons. And also, I have a little, not a surprise, but a little thing at the end where I wanted to show, like, a text adventure was my literal first game that I didn't finish. So I didn't finish the game, but I was working on it with the intent of finishing it and releasing it publicly. And I just didn't because I felt like my coding skills were not great at the time. But I do want to go over that at the end and just show you what it can be. Okay, so in order to start off fresh, we're going to start off with a brand new scene. So in your assets folder, you should already have a folder called scenes pre-made for you. We're going to, in the project panel, we're going to click on scene. There we go. We clicked on scene. And then let me click on live chat just because I forgot that's a thing. Then we're going to right click in this project panel. Going to hover over create, and then we're going to select scene. There's a bunch of different options. You don't have to worry about all those different options. We're going to select just scene. And I know my the text is a little small. I can't do anything about the contextual menu, but hopefully if you're just following along, you can name it whatever. And we're going to call this the main menu. You could do it with no space, or you could do a space. Okay, then we're going to open this up. Great. Now we're going to actually make the UI for our game, which is going to be 3 different games. And in this stream, we're just going to make the second game, which is what are we making? The thing that we're making is going to be I should say that at the beginning of the stream. That's so bad. The thing that we're making, we're going to be making a number guessing game. And I was watching somebody else learn how to code. And I feel like a number guessing game is like super easy, like as a beginner project, but it still allows you to develop, put in a little bit of your own like personality into the game, and you can really spice it up in a lot of different ways. So in order to make a UI for our game, we're going to make this a little smaller and then pull this open. This is our scene panel. We're going to create a canvas in our scene panel. And the way we do that is we right click in the hierarchy panel, which is this one right here, or you could click up here at the top left. And then we're going to go to UI, and then canvas is right here. Or alternatively, you could just click on button, because we're going to be adding buttons in order to switch between the scenes. And that will automatically make the UI canvas and also make the button for us. So let's click on button, and you'll see that we have 3 things added already. We have the canvas. If we click on it, you'll see that the button is inside of the canvas. It's inside of the drop down. And then we have an event system. Now this event system is basically what it is. It just like registers all of the clicks and all of the button, mouse like hovering over a button. This is what tracks all of that. And we don't have to write any of that code. It just handles it for us automatically. We can overwrite this code or write in our own system, but this is just pre-built for us and we don't even have to worry about it. Okay, Canvas, the way that Unity works is that whenever you're building out UI, you have to have all of your UI inside of a canvas, and then everything outside of the canvas has to have its own renderer. So it renders like everything. It just, in order for you to be able to see something, it has to have a renderer, and the canvas makes everything inside of the canvas have a single renderer. So it's just better for performance for one thing to be rendered rather than to split it up. And that's why Unity built out the canvas system. Okay. So we have our button over here and we have our canvas. There is one thing that we want to change over here in the canvas. We want to change this. You can see we have different components over here. Let's minimize each one of these. The one that we want to focus on is this constant pixel size, and we're going to change it to scale with screen size. The most common resolution is 1920 by 1080, and then I usually just move this all the way to height. You'll see if we switch off of 16 by 9 and go to free aspect, basically what it's doing is that it tries to scale the Y height, which is 1080, to the same height as this. It's a little confusing to explain, but just change it to height, and then in this way, whenever we actually scale over the canvas, we have this constant size of 1080 that is going to be our reference point for the resolution. That's why this reference resolution, that's what that means. Okay, we're going 16 by 9, sorry. And then we're going to add one button because we already have this sample scene, and that was from the last stream. And we'll actually, I'm going to click into it, and it's going to ask us to save this scene. So whenever you switch between scenes, Unity wants you to not lose any of your work. So just go ahead and click save. And we're in our sample scene, and we're going to rename this sample scene. I guess we didn't have to go inside of it in order to rename it by clicking on it. And then you could click F2, or you could right click on it and click rename, which is, I never do it that way. So that's why it's over here. It's near the top. Or you could click on it, wait a little bit, and then click again, and then you could just rename it directly. So 3 different ways of renaming it. We're going to name this Text Adventure, just like that. Easy. Okay, let's go back to our main menu. And then we're going to add in 2 more buttons. Now, in order to do that, I'm just going to duplicate this button by pressing Control D, just like that. And now we duplicated it twice. We have 2 different buttons for all of our different games that we're going to make in the future. So in order to organize it, you could do it by hand. So if you just click on the first button, when you go over to the scene, you could just zoom in by scrolling in on your mouse wheel and then dragging it over. Or we could have Unity do this for us automatically. And the way we would do that is by selecting all of our buttons. And this is very important. When you select all of the buttons, make sure that they're not open. Because if you select it like this and you have all of them open, it's also selecting the children of it. And we don't want to select the children. We just want to select the parent button, right? So we're going to select all of them, and you can select multiple by holding Control. So if you do have all of them open, or if you have some of them open, you just hold Control while you're selecting them, and it will remember which ones you have selected previously. Then we're going to right click, and then there's going to be a option called Create Empty Parent. So we're going to click that. And then let's call this Button Organizer. If you followed the last stream, this might seem familiar to you. If not, then, here we go. This is new. Okay, let's go ahead and look for a component. So I didn't really explain this over here. Over here, this is our hierarchy. And each one of these objects or selections that are over here are what are called game objects. And a game object is just, you could think of it as just basically like a container. And it contains a bunch of different things. And the things that it contains are things that you make or is provided to you by Unity. But there is one special thing that every single game object has, and that's called a transform. There's I think only 2 different types of transforms. We have a rect transform, which is still classified as a transform, and then we also have the regular transform, which is also they're both classified under transforms. Now, the reason why that's important to know is because when you're working with game objects and transforms, they're both literally interchangeable, because every single game object has a transform. Every single transform is linked with a game object. So whenever we're saving something in code, we can either refer to it as a transform or as a game object, depending on what we want to do. Okay. So we have this button organizer on this right side, and this transform is a component. And in order to organize these buttons, we're going to add another component called a layout group component. So we're going to click Add Component. I'm going to exit out of that. And then if we look down, we're going to see a thing called Layout, which is perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. There's a bunch of different options, but the one that we want is going to be the horizontal layout. Then as soon as we click this and add it, you'll see that our buttons are automatically organized to be in equal distance apart. If we click on our button organizer, you'll see that we have these 4 circles in our scene panel, and this is the thing that determines how big of a size our game object is in the scene. Now, you may be looking at this and see, like, you see the 4 circles over here, but you don't see it over here. That's because the size doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the actual visuals of what the game object looks like. It can, but it doesn't have to. Okay, so we actually do want our buttons to follow the size of our button organizer. So in order to do that, we can use these options over here. One is called Control Child Size. The other one, Control Child Size. And we're going to select both of them, the width and the height. And now you'll see that the buttons are the same size as however big we make this container. So we can make it however big we want, but we want spacing in between each button. So in order to do that, very simply, we just add spacing. I'm going to add 24, and I think that looks good. And then I'm also going to center this in the middle, and you could do that a couple of different ways. I'm going to click on the button organizer, just click and drag, and now it's centered right in the middle. Now by default, whenever you make a game object in the canvas, it will be centered automatically in the middle. But if for some reason you have it centered at the top left, in order to change where it is like pinned, you just click on this square section over here, and then we just change it to the middle. And then you'll see these two other options where you can also set the pivot and set the position. So right here, like for example, like what does that mean? We pinned it to the top left. So whenever we make this bigger or smaller in the free aspect, let me zoom out. This is going to be pinned to the top left of here. See, so if we make this bigger, I guess it's a little difficult to see when we make it bigger like that. But it's just being pinned to the top left. If we pin it to the bottom left, actually if we pin it to the right, you'll see this makes more sense. You'll see now it doesn't move because the right side of the screen isn't moving. But if we move the right side of the screen, now it does move. And the same thing if we pin it to the top. Actually, like I said, because we have the canvas scaler, it's a little difficult to see that. But the main two aspects you're going to see is the top left and top right. But let's say that we want to pin it to the top left, but we also want to move it to the top left. We can just hold Alt, and while we click there, it also pins and moves it over to the top left of the screen. And now you can see that better. And let's actually do that for all the positions. You'll see that if we hold Alt and then click on any of these sections, you'll see that it not only pins it to that section, but also aligns it to that section. In our case, we just want it to the center. So we can hold Alt and click the center, and it will automatically be aligned at the center, just like that. You can see we can come into a problem if we're playing on different aspect ratios of our screen. So depending on what kind of game you're making, you might want to have this in consideration. And if not, and if you do, we can change this over to, and then if not, you can just assume that everything is going to be 16 by 9. But there are different aspect resolutions, aspect ratios for different size screens. Like some people have ultra wide screens, right? So you just have to take that into consideration depending on the game or your market. In our case, this is going to be placed on the web, and inside of our game, inside of Itch. I explained Itch last video, but you go make an Itch account. That's where we're going to be posting the game. On Itch, you can have a game playable right directly in the browser. And since we have control of the browser, of how big the game is displayed in the browser, we're going to assume that it's going to be 16 by 9 automatically, because we can literally force that on Itch. And then a user can also resize the window so it fits more perfectly with that 16 by 9 aspect ratio. Okay. A lot of information. I went through over a lot of stuff, but we basically have our game right now. Now, in order to change these text of each button, we're going to open them up in the hierarchy panel. I'm going to save this. And then we can select each one of them, and then we'll call this one Text Adventure. Just like that. Oh, and before I move on, I forgot to mention that I believe Text Mesh Pro. Hopefully this pops up. There's nothing to import. Okay, whenever you initially, if this is your first time opening up the project, whenever you click on Text Mesh Pro or something that has that Text Mesh Pro suffix at the end, it will ask you to import the essentials. go ahead and import those essentials, and you can also import the extras. So if we go over to our text, either any of the text over here, and then we select one of them and go to our inspector panel over here on the right and scroll down, there's going to be a section called font asset. We can click on it. Sorry. We can click on it, and then it will give us a whole bunch of options for different fonts for our text. And now these will not appear if you just import the essentials. The only one that will be imported is going to be the Liberation Sans. So if you want these extra ones, you do have to import the extras with TextMesh Pro. And we're going to exit out. We don't want to change that, or you can change that, but we don't have to. And then I'm going to actually align this. You see how it's aligned in the center? I want to align this at the top. So there's a few different alignment options over here. This is middle, this is center, this is top. And then you'll see over here that our text adventure is moved all the way to the top, like that. Do I have, nope, okay. And I'm also going to bold it. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of distance at the top, like let's say 16. Doesn't look like it's enough. Let's do 24. And we're going to do, basically, we want to copy that to the rest of these. But yeah, let's just do it. So let's go ahead and go into text and then do that again. We're going to set this to top. We're going to set it to bold. And then we're going to, if we scroll up, we're going to add 24 pixels of spacing at the top, just like that. And then we're going to do it one more time over here to this button. So we're going to click here on text TMP, make sure that we're clicking on button 2, and then scroll down, change this to top, add bold, and then add 24 pixels of spacing at the top. And then we're going to rename all of these. This is going to be a number guesser. So let's call this number guesser, just like that. And this is a sneak peek at the next stream, which I don't know when it'll be. But I want to give it as like a challenge at the end of this stream that if you want to make a game on your own, this next one is going to be a Magic 8-ball, not a 7-ball, 8-ball. So that's the other stream that we're going to be making. Hold on, let me open up the chats. Give me a second. This stream. Whoa, heard it. Heard. Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, so we have this Magic 8-ball stream that's going to be a challenge. You're going to learn everything you need to make that in this stream. So I think it'll be a nice challenge for you guys. Okay, now we're actually going to be able to link to this new scene. So in order to link to the new scene, we have to make that new scene. We can't link to nothing. So we're going to make a new scene. We're going to right click, we're going to hit on create, and then go over to scene, and then click scene, and we're going to name this number guesser, or number guess, just because it's easier to remember number guess. We're going to open this up, and then we're going to make a new canvas and a new UI. So we're going to do this a little quicker. We're going to go TextMesh Pro under UI, and then this is just going to generate a piece of text along with our canvas. Now you should also realize what that canvas means. We're going to center it up here, and then we're going to go down into our inspector panel, change this to center, and then change this to middle. And then we're going to give our player some instructions, and we're going to say, hey, guess a number. Okay. And then we're going to make this bold. And then if we also want, we don't want it to be like this, we can adjust it two different ways. We can just make this wider by just dragging, and then whenever we hit the breakpoint of it being able to actually fit inside of that, it will fit. Or I'm going to press Control Z. Or we can go down here and change this text wrapping mode from normal to no wrap. And then it will do that. And it'll basically ignore the size of our game object. And the text will just generate in the middle, wherever that middle is. Okay. Now we're going to input. We're going to right click a new, we're going to right click on the canvas in the hierarchy panel. We're going to go under UI and we're going to add in an input field. Whoa, exciting. This is something that the player is actually going to be able to type in. And then underneath it, we're also going to make another button. And then we're going to change this into a submit guess. So submit guess. And let's add button at the end of that. So we have a submit guess button, and we're going to press W and then drag this down. And then we're also going to open this up, click on text, and then type in submit guess. You can see it's a little cramped right here. So we want to do one of two things. We could make the button bigger, but I kind of like how it's aligned already. It's aligned with the same size of our text box. So I don't want to do that. Instead, I'm going to make the text smaller. Let's say 16. I think that looks good. And we're going to set it to bold, just like that. You can see when we zoom out, it looks okay. And this input field, I do actually want to make a little bit higher. So we're going to grab this input field. We're going to click on it, press T, and then we're just going to drag it up higher. And then we're going to make this placeholder text and the text. We'll do one at a time. We're going to make this a lot bigger. Let's say 64. Then text, we're going to do 64 just because we don't see the text right now, but we want them to be the same size. We're going to save. And then we're going to click play and just see what it looks like when we enter a number. So let's say 5. Yeah, I think that looks good. 500. Yeah. So depending on how high you want your number to go, you can change the text size to whatever size you want. And I think 64 is good for this size. And then whenever we submit the guess, we can submit it there. Right now, we don't have any logic running. So it's not nothing's going to happen if we click submit. But later on, we do want something to happen. So let's stop. And we have this set up. We also want to create a little notification thing. So let's change this text over here. We're going to click F2 to change the title. And we're going to name it to instruction text. So this is going to be our instruction text. Then we're going to click it. We're going to press Control D to duplicate it. And we're going to drag it down. And then we're going to rename this to notification text. And now we're going to adjust this. I think what was I going to say? We're going to change the font size to 16, and we're also going to remove the bold. And this is going to be what the player sees whenever they take a guess, say too low, too high, or you're getting really close, or whatever you want it to say, right? And we'll be doing that later in the future. Okay, so now we have this set, we have that set, but we don't want this guess number to be visible at all times. Let's name it to, let's click on notification text, and then in the text input over here, we're going to type in something like, this is filler text, just to see what it looks like. Just like that. And then we're going to save. We don't want this filler text to be there all the time. So we want the ability to turn this off and on, depending on whether the user takes a guess or not. So when they first initially come into the game, this should not be visible. But then when they take a guess, then it should be visible. So we're going to click this little checkbox, and that's basically going to turn it off, but it doesn't delete it. It just turns it off. just like that. And now it's no longer visible, but we still do see the notification text grayed out over here in the hierarchy panel, which is great. This is all fantastic. Now, to move on, before we actually start coding this game, let's code in our main menu so we can actually get to this game. So in order to get to this game, we are going to create a new script. So inside of our assets panel, you're not going to have the script folder. So go ahead and make a script folder just by right-clicking, then create the folder. That's how you make a new folder. Name it scripts. Inside of it, we have two scripts already from last stream, but we're not going to be using those. So let's make a new folder. Right-click in the hierarchy panel, or in the project panel, sorry. Click on folder. We're going to call this text adventure. And then we're going to drag these two files in there. Now we're going to right click, we're going to make a new folder, and we're going to call this main menu. It's recompiling just because we moved the scripts. Main menu. And we're going to right click one more time. We're going to make a new folder. This is going to be number guesser. Okay, so now we have all of our scripts are going to be sequestered off into their own, domains, which I think is nice. So we're going to go into the main menu scripts folder. We're going to right click. We're going to go over to mono behavior script. And then we're going to type in scene navigation. And this is going to be our scene navigation. This is going to be how we move between different scenes. So we're going to open this up. Uh-oh, what's going on? Oh, it's already opening. Oh, I think I opened too many of these. Yeah, I opened up too many times. Sorry. Cancel. Okay. So we have our scene navigation over here. I opened it up twice by accident. Let me zoom in. Okay, so this is how a mono behavior script looks like when you first jump into it. So in order to get access to all of these buttons, we're going to have to create a thing, what is called a variable inside of our code, which is basically a way to reference something inside of our game, inside of our code. So that's basically it. And basically the way we reference it is we describe the thing that we want to reference, we give it a name, and this can be whatever name we want. And then we, that's it. And then we just put a semicolon at the end. So the thing that we're trying to reference is this specific button component right here. This button component. So in order to reference that in our code, we're going to, at the very top, right under scene navigation and after this curly brace, we're going to press enter. We're going to type in button, and then it's going to give us a whole bunch of options. And I want to use, all of us want to use the Unity Engine.ui version. So we're going to hover over that one, press enter. And then it's going to add in this line of code at the top, which just basically gives us access to a whole bunch of new code that has to do with the Unity Engine's UI. And that's really nice that Writer does this for us. It does it automatically. If your thing doesn't look like this, by the way, I should have mentioned this. It's because I'm using a separate IDE. This is what this whole thing is called Writer. And it's this right here. If you just look up Writer, just like that, for Unity, you should be able to get this page. Some of the features that are happening here also happen with Unity's default IDE, but not all of them. And I like Writer. I like the way it looks also. You could change the way that Microsoft Visual Studio 2022 looks, but I just prefer using Writer, so that's why I'm using it for this video. Or for this live stream. Okay, now we're going to give this button a name. And since we have 3 different buttons, I think it makes sense to name each of these button something that, you know, like respective to the name of the game that they're doing. So we're going to call this first one text button, number button, and magic button. So let's make 3 variables. So the way I'm going to write it is I'm going to do lowercase first letter and then uppercase for the first letter of every following word. So the first one is going to be text button. And then it adds this private at the beginning. We don't have to worry about that right now, but we can do that ourselves. So let's type in private button. And then the next one is going to be number button. And then the last one, private button, is going to be text number and magic button. Let's go back up. We're going to add in a square bracket, left squared bracket. We're going to type in serialized field. You see it does that for us automatically. So we could just press tab. And then we're going to go to the next one right underneath it. Look, it already pops it up for us. This is why I like Writer, because a lot of it's really smart with its autocomplete. We're going to press tab. We're going to go to the next one and press tab. It automatically knows. Now, if this looks a little bit confusing, you can also put them on the same line, which is what I tend to do. And then this is also like perfectly valid way to write it. Or if you like doing it the other way where you have them just like this, you can have it like that and you can put a space between them. The formatting of it doesn't really matter. Whatever way looks best to you, it's perfectly fine. It's going to work any way that you want. And then this option, which I think looks really bad to have them all like that. Okay, so we have all of our buttons. Now, in order for us to actually interact with these buttons, there's a few different ways. I'm actually going to show you the most difficult way to do it, because there is an easier way, but I think it gets a little messy. So I'm just going to do it all inside of the code. So the way we're going to add in the function for us to switch between scenes is by referencing these buttons. And inside, if we look at start, this is void start, and we can type in private in the beginning. And this is going to be the same thing as if we didn't have private. Just by default, I just like writing private and everything. And so does Writer. It kind of enforces that. Okay, so if we look at private void start, you'll see at this green text above it, this is saying start is called once before the first execution of update after the model behavior is created. And then update is called once per frame. Now this green text is just text that the computer ignores, and this text is only for us. And we can also do that over here. So we're going to do green text and we're going to type in something like we are subscribing buttons to scene switching, just like that. Okay, and this text, it's not green over here because we're not using the start. It's basically saying, hey, you're not using this this method. You can probably delete this. That's why it's all grayed out, because we don't have any code inside of it right now. Okay, so in order to actually do something with the buttons, we're going to do text button, and then we're going to click the period, and then you see that the very first thing is going to be on click. So we're going to click on click, then we're going to press period again, and then we're going to add listener. So basically what this is asking us, or this is saying, it's saying, hey, whenever we click on this button, we want to do something, and that's what the add listener does. And we want to do something inside of here. Now, in order to tell it what to do, we have to create what's called a method. Or in other languages, it's really, you'll hear this really commonly referred to as a function. As far as I know, functions don't exist in C#, but for our case, if we're just learning, a function and a method are basically the same thing. They're basically the same thing. The minor difference is that a function does not exist inside of any object, or so it doesn't exist inside of a class or anything, and a method does exist in classes. But I believe in C# that you cannot write a function or method outside of a class. So every single function that we write in C# is actually going to be a method because it's inside of this thing over here. It's inside of a class. So we're going to add a new method called, or private void switch scene. And then we're going to look at this. It automatically gives this to us. Yeah, whereas we're going to tell the scene manager, and that's code that I didn't write. That's code that is provided to us by Unity. We're going to type in scene manager, and then you'll see that writer is giving us a bunch of different options, and we want to go with this very first option, which is Unity Engine.Scene Management. We're going to select that one and then click enter, and then it adds that line of code at the very top, which again gives us a whole bunch of different code that just makes it available to us automatically. So we add scene manager, then we're going to click dot, which is basically like us saying like, hey, we want to go inside of the scene manager, which is the same thing we did over here with the text button. We click text. We want to go inside of this button, then on click, then we want to go inside of that, and we want to listen to something when we click on this button. So it's sort of like we're digging into an object, okay? So scene manager, we're going to go load scene, and then it's asking us to, if you see this drop down over here, it's giving us a bunch of different stuff, and it's basically saying like, hey, this is what I need from you in order to be able to do the thing that you're asking me to do. So the thing that it's asking us to do is to give us the scene name. I know it's a little difficult to see. It's a little small on the screen, but it says string scene name. And then there's another one up here that says scene name also, and load scene mode. Okay, so since this is the text button, and we have, if we go back to our project, we'll see that we have the text adventure. We're going to copy this text. So we're going to click F2, copy, and we can click out of it. And then we're going to click add in quotes. It's very important that you add in quotes. And then we're going to paste that text adventure, just like that. And now this is the only thing that it needs from us in order to switch to this text adventure. So now in order to say, hey, I want to switch, I want to do this code whenever I click on this text button, all I have to do is just copy this section over here, which is switch scene, including this section over here, and type it right in there. Switch scene, just like that. Oh, it's giving us an error. Why? Oh, void is, okay. This is, oh man, this is, okay. Let's see if we can do this action. I just want to see if this works. Nope. Delegate. No, that, of course that wouldn't work. Okay. So it's giving us an error because it's expecting us to provide this thing called a Unity Engine event Unity action. So we actually can do that. You'll see that right here. So we can do Unity action, just like that. And we're going to change that void to Unity action. And then this very first one, we're going to click it, press enter, and then that should solve it. So let me just quickly explain what happened. Basically, it was getting angry with us because this thing is called a return type. The second value is called a return type. And a return type, all it is it's saying like, hey, when I run this code, what do you want me to give you back once I finish running this code? And void just means nothing. You don't have to give me anything, just run the code. In this case, this function right here wants a return type of a Unity action. So if we do Unity action and add that in, it should just work automatically. Why is it giving me an error now? Return statement is missing. Return. Interesting. Can we do this? Okay. So this is one way of writing this. And you'll see that it's still giving us an error if we just do this, because it's expecting us to return something. Now, in order to be able to return something, we have to give it like a piece of code to run. So if we just do this, it's expecting a piece of code to run. So in order to do that, we can just do return, open and close squared bracket. Then we're going to do equals greater than symbol. Then a open and close curly brace, and then it'll automatically generate to us the close curly brace, and we could just do that. And this is basically saying, hey, this is what it's called a lambda function. So I guess technically it is a function. And basically all a lambda function is a piece of code that runs a single time the place where you write it. Now we are returning a function inside of a method, which is passing that through over into here, which is great, cool. We can write this a simpler way. Let's just do it this way because I want to show you something else. Okay, this is great. Now I want to do the same thing for the number button. So we're going to go number. I think you guys are going to hate me when I show you the easy way of doing this. Okay, we're going to do on click, add listener, switch scenes. But you can see that this scene is loading the text adventure, right? So in order to switch to a different scene, we want to add in a new method. And let's get this. It's going to be number guesser. Let's copy it. And then let's write this new piece of code. Private Unity action. Switch scene 2, return like this, open and close squared bracket, and then we add in the semicolon at the end, scene load, and instead of text adventure, we want this to be number guess. And then instead of switch scene, because this is the number and this is the number, we want to change this to switch scene, cancel. We want to change this to switch scene 2, just like that. And this works perfectly. But you can see that we're basically repeating a lot of code, and we don't really want to repeat a lot of code. We want to keep our code dry. This concept of dry means dry is an acronym that stands for do not repeat yourself. Let me go ahead and put on the music. I feel like something's missing. Do not repeat yourself just means that like if there's code that is written multiple times, there's probably a better way to write it so we don't have to repeat that code. And if we click over and do this for magic, you'll see that if we had the on magic, then we're going to have to make a switch scene 3 eventually, right? So we can actually condense this down into one single method by adding what is called a parameter. A parameter is just saying, hey, instead of having this as a static value that I provide whenever I write the code, we can just say, hey, I don't know what this is going to be. I just know that it's going to be a string of some type. And whenever you call this method, so whenever we write this method, we have to add a string in order for it to run properly, right? So we could say, hey, I am not going to run this method unless you provide me a string to write inside of here. So in order to do that, we're going to type in string here, and then we're going to type in scene name, just like that. That's perfect. And then instead of having this here, we're just going to type in scene name. Now, if this is a little confusing for you, that's okay. Basically, what this is saying is, I don't care what the scene name is, but you have to give me a scene name whenever you call it. You call this method. So now let me go ahead and erase these numbers. You'll see that there's a little red underline over here because this code is not happy. It's not going to run until we give it a scene name to run. So for example, over here, I think it was called text adventure, right? So this one is called text adventure. And this is basically passing this information through and it's naming it scene name, and it's putting that right there. And we're doing this again over here. So this one is going to be called number guess. And then this one is going to be called, actually, we don't even have a scene for this one yet. So this is what I was talking about before. We can just have this directly inside of it. So let's go ahead and just do that. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to debug.log. Nothing happens when you click here yet. So this is just saying, hey, whenever I click on the button, just don't do anything, and this is going to pop up in our console. So now these two are fully hooked up to the buttons, okay? So if we go back, well, you might be, if you remember to what we were writing and everything, you might be thinking, wait a second. I understand that we are referencing each of those buttons by writing them here, but we didn't really tell the computer anywhere or Unity anywhere which button is a text button. Like, how does it know that the text button is a text button? How does it know that the number button is the number button? It's a good question. It doesn't. But that is why we added this serialized field at the end of it. So in order to tell it, we have to tell it inside of the actual inspector. So we go over, also that's another thing. We're going like, wait, where's this scene switcher thing? I don't see the scene switcher anywhere. That is because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anywhere. So we're going to create a new game object by clicking on this top left. We're going to create empty, and then we're going to type in scene switcher, just like this. And then this is going to be our scene switcher. I don't like having no space. I think it just looks bad. And we're going to go over here to the scene switcher components. On the inspector panel, we're going to add a component, and we're going to be able to automatically add in our main menu, our scene navigation script right in here, just by typing scene navigation, and our code pops up automatically, which is pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. We don't have to do anything. It generates these fields for us just by adding in this field called serialize field, just like that. Okay. Now, we want to drag each of these buttons over to the button, just like that. Button 1, button 2, just like that. And now you'll see that there's a slight problem. Like if you're working with a lot of different buttons, this can get really confusing really quickly. So instead of just naming them button 1, button 2, we're going to name them the actual things that they are. So this is going to be text game. Then this one is going to be number game. And then this one is going to be magic game. And now if we go back to our scene switcher, you'll see that the names are automatically updated for us, which I think is really great. It's really nice. Okay. Now, if we click play, and then we click on Magic 8 Ball, you'll see we get this little message over here. It says, nothing happens when you click here yet. That's because we wrote that in right there. This piece of code right here, saying, hey, when I click on the magic button, run this code. And basically the code is just saying, write this to our console. Nothing happens when you click here yet, which is pretty cool. But even more cool is if we click on something like number guess, what? Nothing happens. Let's click on text adventure because we actually did make text adventure.
A guy walks towards you on the street.
That one makes sense. Okay, so we might be wondering, wait, hey, how come text adventure worked, but number guesser didn't work? What's going on with that? So you might go back to your thing and say, okay, did I type it in correctly? It says number guess over here. Let's go over here. Yep, it says number guess right here. By the way, this is one reason why people don't like working with strings like this, is because the chances of you mistyping something is really high. But in this case, that is not the case. So what's going on? How come number guesser didn't work, but text adventure did work? What's going on with that? So I could tell you, but Unity tells you right here in the console for you automatically. Says scene number guess couldn't be loaded because it has not been added to the active build profile or shared scene list, or the asset bundle has not been loaded. To add a scene to the active build profile or shared scene list, use the menu file build profiles. Okay. So let's just listen to that. Let's say, okay, this is really nice. This is like the debugging. What we're doing right now is debugging. So it's basically saying that this number guess doesn't exist inside of this active build profile, which I don't know what that means. You don't know what that means. You just started. So, but it's giving us a solution. So let's go to file and then build profile. So let's go over here to the top left, click on file, and then there it is. I do see build profiles. And then if we look, we see, oh, look, here's a scene list. And we could see that the number guess is not on there. So we want to add the number guess onto the here. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the scene list. And then there's this really handy button that we could just add automatically. So we'll say, okay, yeah, let's add this open scene. But this is the main menu. This is not the scene, the number guesser, which, by the way, the number that you put these in is important because you don't want to, the first one in the first position, so the 0 position, is going to be the one that is first loaded when you open up the game. So you want your main menu to be first. So in order to add the number guess, we just click and drag and just add it there. And now it's working perfectly. And now if we exit out of this, we don't have to save or anything. Unity automatically saves for us. When we click play, and then we click on number guesser, hey, it works. So that is debugging. That is debugging in a nutshell, right for you, okay? Okay, so let's stop. Okay, now we have scene navigation working. We can go to the text adventure, we can go to the number guesser, and we don't have the Magic 8 Ball game yet, but by the end of this, you should be able to make it. So let's go over to our number guesser game, and let's actually start building out this game. So what do we want to happen? Actually, before we continue, I just forgot to mention that we probably want a submit button, but we also want a play again button, right? So we're going to duplicate the submit guess button by pressing Control D. Then we're going to drag this down, and then we're going to open up, we're going to first of all change the name, right? So play again button. And then we're going to change this from input field. We're going to get this to guess input field, just so everything is named properly. Then we're going to open up this play again button, click on text TMP, and then over here on the right side, we're going to change this from submit guess to try again or play again. Play again. Okay. Oh, also, by the way, before I continue, I just wanted to adjust that real quick. And before we leave the main menu scene, I wanted to show you the easy way of doing this code, because this was a lot of code for a beginner to go through. We actually don't need any of this, so let's delete all of it. And let's just do the same thing that we had before. We're going to change it to, instead of private, it's going to be public. Void is fine. And then, yeah, go to scene. We could name it that. And then we're going to do scene manager.scene load. All these concepts should be familiar to you. We don't need any of this code. We don't need this code. We don't need this code. And we could erase that. And look how simple the scene is. Now, in order to add it to the actual buttons, whenever we click on it, like we want to run this code, we have to go into our canvas and then go onto our buttons. And over here it has this on click. And we could just click plus and then drag in our scene switcher and then go over to scene navigation and then go to, and then we could just add that text adventure right there. And we could do that for all of them. So you see, this is a lot easier. This is just a lot easier. Number guess. Oh, but we can't do the magic 8-ball. So that's the benefit of doing it our way with code, is because we can actually like more deliberately decide what each one of them does. And now if we click play just to verify that this works. Hey, it's the guy from the community post. Yes, it's me. Wait, are you talking about you or me? Because I've been doing quizzes, which, by the way, if you're wanting to learn, I also post quizzes every single day. It used to be twice a day, but then it was just too much for me to keep up with. It's taking a lot of time. But you could also subscribe. Hey, me. And then you'll get a quiz every single day talking about game development or gaming in general. For this set of questions that I did this time, I try to focus more on questions that are more open to like regular gamers, like gamers would be able to answer these questions, some of them. It's not as technical as before, because just I've noticed that a lot of the technical questions are not, there's not as much engagement on it, but interested to hear if you're more interested in technical questions. But okay, just to verify if this works or not, let's click.
A guy walks towards...
Yep, that works perfect. Let's go ahead and click on number guesser. Hey, that works too. Hey, perfect, man. Hey, how far along in your game development journey are you? Well, while you wait for that to hear. Okay, so yeah, that is how you switch scenes in Unity. Very simple, very easy. By the way, this live stream, I've been coding a number guesser game. You can follow along just by following the video. So if you want to learn, if you are like brand new beginner, I think this stream could be helpful for you. Okay, now that we're actually getting into the logic of actually writing this game, what do we want to happen? Well, first of all, let's think about our game and what we want to happen. Okay, we want first for a random number to be generated, and then we want the player to be able to guess a number, and when they submit their guess, we want to say, well, there's going to be 3 different options. It's either going to be too low or too high, or they got it correct. Okay? So, and then we want to tell the player, hey, your guess is too low, too high, or you got it correct. And if they got it correct, then we want them to have the ability to play again. So by default, we don't want the notification to be up. We also don't want the play again button to be up initially. Whenever they get the number correct, then the play button can appear. But before that, it doesn't need to appear. Okay, so the first problem that we're going to come into is that we have to generate a random number. So let's go ahead and make a new script. And then we're going to go create mono behavior. And then we're going to, this is going to be the entire number generation logic. So we're going to call number guess logic. And this is going to include the entire game. Okay. So now we're in here, we're inside of our number guesser. how do we generate a new number to guess? Like, how do we get a random number? Well, let's first create a variable for a random number. So we're going to do private int, which is just means I barely started. Recently, I've been studying design patterns, just beginner stuff, right? You're talking about like stuff like singleton patterns and like blackboard stuff, or that sounds cool. If I'm interpreting that right. I'm not too sure what you mean by design patterns, but that's what I imagine. Okay, so this is going to be the number to guess. So this is going to be the number that the player has to guess. So at the very start of our game, yeah, sort of. What are you learning? Tell me about what you're learning. Okay, sorry. At the start of our game, we want to generate a random number. So in order to do that, we're going to do number to guess is going to be equal to random dot range, just like this. And then we'll see that we have two numbers. We have min inclusive and max exclusive. And that's the one that we want to do in order to say like, hey, this is the numbers that we want to generate. Let's start at 0, or this is the first number is going to be the low point. And then the second number is going to be the high point. When it says max exclusive, that means that it's not going to be included in the options that are able to be generated. So let's go with 101. And then we're going to add a semicolon to the end of it. Okay. Now, if you want to make your guess like negative, that's also fine. The only thing that you don't really want to do is add a period like this. One, because it'll generate this error. In order to fix that error, you just press F. And now this whole thing is generating an error, so you just have to write F over here. And F just means, oh. And then this would have to be float. Now the whole thing is working. So you don't want to do this. So hopefully if you write int, you won't get that error because decimal points, numbers with decimal numbers are what are called floats, which means floating point, which just means that the period just like floats throughout the number. You don't want to make this a decimal, one, because it won't work like you just saw, but also because if you write it into a decimal, you're going to get like really like big numbers that are going to be difficult for the player to guess. And if you want to change these, you can make it negative though. So if you want to do negative like 10 or something, that is completely fine. But if you want to change it in Unity itself, you can do that. And actually, before we continue, let's actually add in our number guess logic into this hierarchy scene, into the number guess scene by right clicking. Let's create an empty, and then let's change this name to number guesser logic. And then let's add in the components with the same name, number guess logic. Okay, so this is our code right here. In order to actually be able to change it right over here, we can add in two different values. So this is going to be our serialized field, private int, and then we're going to change this to low or min number, and then we're going to add max number right there. Private int max number, just like that. And then instead of referencing the numbers directly inside of here, we could just do min number and max number. Okay, perfect. Just like that. And then we don't need update for now. I don't think we won't need update. Let's get rid of that. Okay, cool. Now we have generated a random number, but we want to check if the number that the person guesses is actually correct or not. Now, in order to do that, we have to get a reference to this guess input field. And also one thing I forgot to mention when we actually made this is we want to change it over here. If we scroll down, it says Text Mesh Pro input field. We want to change it from content type standard, which just means like text. And we want to limit this to just integer numbers, which just means whole numbers. So that means that the player is not going to be able to put any decimal numbers or any strings or text, right? It's just going to be decimal. It's just going to be whole numbers, which is exactly what we want. Okay. I'm learning about the observer pattern right now. Oh, okay. And if I understand it correctly, it's the basic principle behind events and others. Yeah. That's right. The observer pattern is, used a lot everywhere. I think it's like the integral components of MVC. So MVC is super important for UI. Don't worry about it. Sorry, I'm just, if you're watching this in the future, I'm just talking about, different design patterns in code. But we're not discussing super complex stuff right now. We're just doing the basics. So don't worry. Stuff to learn in the future. Okay. So in order to get a reference to that, we have to get in a new variable just like this. And we're going to type in serialized field again, do private, and then we're going to do input field, I think. TMP input field. There it is. Go ahead and select it, press enter. And then again, it will add this line of code at the top saying, hey, this new database of code is now available to you. And we're going to call this guess input or guess field, or we could just call it guess. I think that makes sense more in code. Also, we can add in headers over here, and this will actually separate out the code for us in the inspector. So we're going to type in header and then do game values. And then above this, let's do the same thing. Header, open and close parentheses, quotes, and this is going to be references. Okay, perfect. So now, remember when I showed you the thing in the beginning where how to switch chains in Unity? We're basically going to be doing the same thing where we're going to add something over to the submit button just by clicking here and dragging in our number guess logic, but we have to actually write the code over here first. Language, this is C#, this is Unity. We are building a game in Unity, very simple game for complete beginners. So if this is your first time making a game or writing any code, that is who I'm gearing it to, And if you want to follow along, just rewind to the beginning, and you'll learn Unity and a little bit of C#. Okay. C#, by the way, in my opinion, is the easiest language to learn as a first language. Thanks, no worries. Okay, so in order to write the code, we have to make a public method. So we're going to check, and we're going to name this method check guess, just like that. Open and close parentheses at the end of our method name, and then we have the open and close curly brace at the end of all of this. And this is where we're actually going to write the code. So we want to get our guess dot, is it value? Okay, guess dot text. Okay, we're going to do 3 different checks. There's going to be... Okay. Okay, this is going to be a little bit confusing. Because this is called an input field, and this could be a little bit of improper naming on the case of whoever, or just not fully thinking out the naming. Because this is an input field, we're gonna get the text of it, but the only text that is allowed to be here is going to be an integer number. So this is already like telling us like, hey, we cannot change this to like letters or whatever. It's going to be a whole number guaranteed, right? But this value is still called text, right, for our guess. So in order to get the guess and put it against our number to guess, we have to do okay, let's just do it this way. When I was starting, I started really low on the advanced scales, so I could understand what was happening when I actually made a program. I now like experimenting with machine learning and OS. Really interesting. I use Python for that. I mean, for machine learning, I'm assuming. I feel like Python is like the default machine learning language, which is a little annoying. I hate Python. Okay. So, in order to check if there's going to be 3 different circumstances I explained before. Their guess is too low, their guess is too high, or if their guess is correct. So, let's check all those different scenarios. So we're going to check first if our guess.text is equal to, in order to check if it's equal to something, we do the double equal sign, and then we're going to check to number to guess. And you'll see just like this, it gives an error because this is a string and this is an int, you see? So in order to convert it to a way where we can actually check if they're the same, we have to change either this to a string or we have to change this to a int. Now we can't do that. We could just do dot to int. Actually, we can't do that. Let's just change this to a string. Okay, so we're going to do dot to string. And this is going to be completely fine because now it's still throwing an error because this is returning what is called a Boolean. So a Boolean is literally just bool number guessed is just true, just like that, or false. And that's all a Boolean is. Yeah, not Python. I use either C++ or just C. I never experimented with C#, but it looks pretty cool, good for game development. What's the game logic? I already explained it before, but just to quick run there, it's just a number guesser game, just a really simple project. We're just checking if the number is too high or too low. So right now, this is checking if the number is correct, and this returns either true or false. Now, in order to actually do something with that true or false, we have to wrap it inside of a thing called an if statement. So at the very beginning, we're going to write if, and then an open parentheses, and then a closing parentheses. So basically, this is checking right here. If this is true, if our guess is equal to our number to guess, which is generated right here, right? Then we want to do whatever is inside of this code. Now, what do we want to do inside of this code? We mentioned at the beginning of the stream that we wanted to turn on this notification and change this text, and we also wanted to turn on this play again button so the player is able to actually play again, right? So in order to turn them on, we have to have a reference to both this notification text and this play again button. Okay, so let's add those references under our references over here. So let's go serialize field, private tmp underscore text, and that's going to be our notification text. And then under here, we're also going to get private, like I mentioned in the very beginning of the stream, whenever we're referencing a game object, which is the thing that has this plus, this checkbox that can turn it on or off, we can either use a transform or the game object. In this case, I think it's easier to just use the game object. And then we're going to change this to, what is this called? Sorry, I'm a little bit at a loss. This is the try again button. So this is the try again button, just like that. And then we're going to save that. Let's do this lowercase, sorry. Okay. And then when we go back to our number guesser and then we click here, you'll see that we have all of these options available to us inside of our code. So let's go ahead and input everything. This is the guess input field. This is the try again button. And then this is the notification text. Okay. So, and then this is the values where we can actually change the minimum guess value, which is going to be like -20. And you can do +20, or it could be whatever you want, like literally whatever you want. Okay. So if the player gets the guess correct, then we want to turn on the notification text, which is right here. So in order to turn it on, we're going to do notification text dot game object dot set active, and then we're going to turn this on to true. And also, we want to change the actual text of the notification text to say, hey, you got it correct. Notification text dot text. There you go. You guessed the number. This is why Writer is great. That's crazy that it did that. And then we also want the try again button to be turned on also. So try again button dot set active is true. Now we don't want to handle any of the logic of actually like making a new number in here, because we're going to make a new button for that. We're going to reset the game whenever they click try again, and we can actually write that method there. So we're going to do public void reset game. Now, in order to reset the game, we want to do a few different things. We actually want to turn this notification text game object, and we want to set that active as false. And we also, we don't have to change the text over here, because whenever we turn it off, they're not going to be able to read it anyways, right? So it's not really important for us to change what it says, but you can if you want. And then if you actually do want to do that, you can do notification text is equal to string.empty, just like that. And that will convert it just to nothing. It doesn't say anything anymore. And we also want to turn off the try again button dot set active false. So this is us resetting the game. And we also want to generate a new number to guess, right? So we could just copy this code right here and then paste this code just like that. So now this is completely resetting our game. It's turning off the notification, it's changing it to empty, and it's also turning off the try again button. Okay. So we don't want to do this immediately when they guess the number correctly, because then they're not even going to be able to see that they got the correct number. This is the first stage of checking, like, hey, is my number too high or is it too low? When I did a similar project again in C, I used switch statements for testing magnitude of the number guessed and the real number. For testing magnitude, interesting, the magnitude. What is the magnitude? Okay, well, that's interesting. For this case, I believe, I don't know how to write a switch statement for this, because a switch statement, you would need a static value in order to check against. Or a switch statement, you would have to have a value to check its state, right? You can't really check that here. But that's interesting. Okay, cool. So, oh, this is why. You know something? let me actually revert something, because we're gonna actually have to check the number of this. So instead of changing this to a string, we want to change this to a number. Now, in order to do that, I think it is mathf.parse. Man, parse. Parse. Haha. Okay. How do you parse a number out of... This is a good question. How do you parse number from text in C#? Do we have system? Oh, okay. I believe I just looked it up. Quick Google. I looked up how do you parse a number from a string. So it says int.parse. There we go. Just like that. And then we're going to get this text. And now this is basically converting this piece of text into an integer, just like that. And that's Google. That's Google. That's the power of Google. Hey, sometimes I get stuck, you know? Sometimes I get stuck. Yeah. And now this is an actual number. And actually, just for a little bit of efficiency, let's change this from here. Let's add guest number is equal to int.parse.text. And instead of having this right here, we're going to do guest number right there. And then we're checking, is this the same number? And if it is, then they won. Now we have two other options, right? It's going to be if our guest number is greater than number to guess. Sorry, misspelled. If guess number is greater than number to guess, then we still want to do the notification text .gameObject to true, but we want to change this notification text to something else. So let's copy this, and then this is going to say, hey, the number you guessed is too high, just like that. Perfect, right? And we don't want to set the try again button to true because they guessed it wrong. So if they want to continue guessing, then they would just input a new guess and then press submit, check guess again. Okay. So then over here, the final one is going to be if our guess number is less than the number to guess. Can you use a cast, or does that not exist in here? See, I'm pretty sure that you can't, but we could try. Guess.text. That'll be interesting. Yeah, no. Yeah, okay. So basically a cast, which is what he just asked right now. A cast is taking one value and converting it into another value. And the reason why a cast doesn't work in this case is because reinterpret cast type. Yeah. The reason why a cast doesn't work is because a cast usually only allows you to switch between one value type and a different value type if they are in the same family and if they are inherited from each other. And also with a text, with a piece of text, you're not able to cast because the chances of it just being the piece of text is like basically a text being a number is, I mean, it does happen, right? In this case, it automatically is going to happen, but in code, that's not the only option to do, right? So in this case, no, you can't because it's a piece of text. So letters can be in it, and you can't convert letters into a number, right? And that's how you get like not a number. not a number value returned, not a number of values like in JavaScript, which is one of the reasons why I don't think JavaScript is an easy language to learn, just because there's so many different edge cases. This right here is one of the reasons why I think C# is really easy to learn, because it really enforces types in C#. It's more strictly typed, not completely strictly typed, but more strictly typed than JavaScript. Okay, so if the guess number is too low, we also want to, we also want to get this notification, set this to true, and then we want to change this notification text over here to notification text. The number you guessed is too low, just like that. And then we miss the semicolon at the end. Okay, now if you're looking at this, you might be going, hey, wait a second. We just repeated this piece of text 3 times. And I mentioned also that we want our code to be dry, right? Don't repeat yourself. So how can we convert this into a method so we don't have to repeat code that much? Now, the way we do that, actually, I think it's a good challenge for you to do. So pause the video, pause the live stream right now if you want to give it a try. And if you're not pausing, then I'm assuming that you got stuck and you did give it a try, but you got stuck. So I'll show you how to do it right now. Okay, so we're going to make a new method. We're going to do private void, and then we're going to do send, send notification. And then we're going to do a string, just like we did a parameter before, right? Notification, and we could call this whatever we want, notification message. And then we're going to do notification text dot notification message, perfect. Notification, we also need to turn on the game object. So notification text dot game object dot set active true. And now instead of doing all of this, we just have to send a notification right here, send notification. The number you guessed is too low, just like that. Oh, you mean in the text? Yeah, that's right. Okay, and then here we're going to do send notification. The number you guessed is too high, just like that. Okay, and then we also want to send a notification up here, right? Because we're also sending it to true. So send notification. The number you guessed is correct, just like that. Perfect. So now we have a whole bunch of different notifications. Now this thing is a little bit more advanced and it's a little bit confusing. So if you want to just keep it like this, I would recommend keeping it like this just because it's easier to look at. But I want to show you just a smaller, easier way to do this. And the way we're going to do this is by stopping the logic right here. So if they guess the number correctly, we're just going to stop it right here. We're just going to click return. And this just says, hey, if you got the number right, this return means do not continue on with the rest of the code. Return the thing that we promised we would return in this return value type right here. Void means nothing, which means we don't have to return anything, which means just stop the code, right? So if they guess the number correctly, then the code stops and that's it. Which means that if we do get to here, that means that they did not get the number correct, which is very important for what I'm about to do. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to convert all these lines, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines of code into one single line of code. And the way I'm going to do that is by making a ternary operation. So I'm going to do send notification. And then we're going to check is our guessed number greater than number to guess? And that's what this is asking right now. This is saying, is our guess number greater than number to guess? And then if you saw what it says right here, it says, no, the number, if it is true, then that means that the number you guessed is too high, just like that. And if this is not correct, we're also going to add in the second option. That means that this is false, right? So this is what it sends if it is true. And if it is false, then we're going to send a new string. And this is going to be the number you guessed is too low, just like that. Okay, perfect. And I have a typo right here. Is zoom out. And this is what the whole thing looks like right here. Set notification. Now, ternary functions, ternary operations can look a little bit intimidating, but if you think of it as the same thing as an if statement, it gets really, it's a little more simple to do. It's a little more simple to read, right? So this is just checking, this is the if part right here, and we can see that right here. And then if that is true, we're going to send this. And if it is false, okay, hold on, sorry. Ternary, that means the question mark. I use it, but I don't understand. You know the operator even exists in C#? Yeah. Ternary operators exist in a bunch of different languages, which is, it even exists in Python, but the syntax is a little bit different. So I think it's a good way to explain it now. Okay. So a ternary function, a ternary operator, which is this question mark, like the person in chat was asking, is basically, you can think of it like a tiny method that it's like a method and a if statement combined. Whenever you write a ternary function operator, whenever you do this, yeah, condition, true, false. Yeah. That's, let me write that down. It's going to be condition, question mark, true, false. But the way that it works is that these true and false are implicitly looking for a value to return. So that means that if true, then it's going to return whatever is written here. In this case, it's going to be a string. And if it is false, it's going to return whatever is written here, which in this case is also a string, right? And this is how a ternary function works. The long way of writing this is going to be this, right? It's going to be this. So if the number is too high, if that is true, send this. Or if that is false, send this. But that's not even actually the entire ternary function. It is more like this. String return value. Just like that. And then do send notification, return value. Return value is equal to This is more in line with what this piece of code does, right? Because we're not sending the notification twice in two different locations. We're still only sending it one in one location, which is what we're doing here, right? We're just calling the method once, but we're changing what this value equals, and then we're adding that here. And this is more in line with how the ternary operator works just in general. This entire line of code, which is even more than 9 lines of code now, I think, is condensed down into this single line of code. And if you want to make this a little bit simpler, we could separate this into different lines. So this is going to be our question, right? Is this true? Yes. Is this true? No. And that's what that does right there. So that's a more advanced thing that you can use. But if you're just beginning, if you're just starting, that can be a little confusing. You could also use this way of writing it, which I think is also fine. And the reason why we're able to just realize that it is not, the number is not correct, because it's saying like, if it's greater, then there are still two other options. If it's greater, that means it's either equal to or it's less than. But because we're already checking if it's greater than over here, we can assume, and we would correctly assume, that it is 100% not guaranteed because of this return statement right here. So once we get to here, we 100% know that the number is not correct, which is perfect, right? Okay, so now we have to run this check guess inside of our button, which is going to be the submit guess button. So if we look, we already added it. So we just go down to this drop down, select number guess logic, and then check guess. And then if we look at the number guess, yep, we already have everything assigned. And the play again, we're going to add a new onClick. It's in the number guesser. And then we're going to go into number guess logic and reset game, just like that. So now we are going to look at this. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why I didn't do this scene navigation thing in the past. Oh, actually, okay, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. Okay, usually if you're using Visual Studio Community 2022, this would not happen where it says like, hey, I'm actually being used. And the reason why is because your IDE doesn't register that the code is being used in this location, which is one reason why I don't like it. This is another huge benefit of Writer. It's saying, hey, you are actually using this code and it's used in these two locations inside of Unity. That is so cool. Like I actually, I didn't realize that Writer did that. That's really cool. That's one reason why you should use Writer. I really like it. And this is one of the reasons why. So now we did a whole bunch of code. We haven't even checked if this is correct, right? So let's go ahead and do a test run and check if everything. Oh, by the way, if you don't want to like readjust this, you could just click over here and then click play maximized. And we click play. It's going to take up the whole screen. Mr. Diamond Sword, would you like to give us a guess to guess inside of the guess a number? If not, I will take a guess. And I know it's between -20 and 20 or -20 and 19. So I'm going to guess 5. 5. Let's check. The number you guess is too low. Interesting. I'm going to guess 10. Submit. The number you guess is too high. Interesting. I'm going to guess. Okay, let's do 15. Sorry. Too late. Too high. Okay. Let's do 7. Too low. 8. Too low. 9. 9 was the correct number. Let's play again. Let's start with your guess, 15, and let's see how it goes. The number you guess is too high. 15 is too high, Mr. Diamond Sword. That is incorrect. Come on, what are you doing? You're slipping. The number you guess is too high. It goes from -20 to 20, or to 19. We'll take another guess. We're going to do... I know it's negative is a possibility. So let's do -5. It's too low. Let's do 2. Too low. Let's do 10. Too high. 10 is too high. So 2, it's between 2 and 10. Give me another guess. Give me another guess. 2 and 10. 2 and 10. Negative is still possible, but I already checked 2 for you, so 2 was too low, 10 is too high. 6. Too high, still too high. Let's do, so it's between 2 and 6. So it's 3, 4, or 5. 3, 4, or 5. Give me one of those numbers. 4? Okay, let's try 4. Okay, 2, it's between 2 and 4. So I think if we wrote everything correctly, and we type in 3 and then submit the guess, the number you guessed is correct. Right there, number 3. Now, you'll see that this is a little small, and the reason why it's small is because in our canvas, we didn't change this to a scale with screen size. Yeah, 4 automatically gives you the answer, yeah. Oh, that's right. That was smart. 1920 and 1080. You know what? I didn't even realize that. Okay, perfect. And now if we play again, we should be able to go into this. Yeah, it's a little easier to see. And now if we say 5, too high, 1, too high, -1, too high, -8, too low, okay, -5, too low, -2, I forgot what I checked, too high, -4, -4 was the right answer. Okay, one thing that I do want to note is that over here in our number guesser logic, this min number is correct. It can go down to -20, but this max number is, if we check over here, hopefully it says it if I hover over it. It says right here, int min inclusive, int max exclusive, which means that exclusive just means that it's not going to, that number that you submit is not going to be one of the numbers that is available to guess, right? So if we actually do want it to be between -20 and 20, we actually have to change this max number to 21, just like that. And you can change these numbers to whatever you want. Now we're going to do one final thing. And this last thing that we're doing is going to be a mix of using this random range thing and a mix of using the notification thing, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to generate random responses that are all generally around the same thing. So instead of doing, instead of writing the text directly in here, we're going to create 2 different lists of text that, or 3 different lists of text that will appear to the user whenever they check their guess, right? Okay, so in order to do that, we're going to do, let's create a new header, and let's call this notification text. And then after, we're going to make a serialized field. We're going to do private string. And then in order to make a list or an array, we're going to write, this is an array. We're going to write open square bracket, close square bracket. And then we're going to do low notifications. I hate the way that it does that. Then we're going to do another one, high notifications. And then the other one is going to be correct notifications. Okay. And I'm going to go through this code a little quick just so we can get through the rest of this, because we're an hour and a half and I didn't want to go too long. So now this automatically generates all these different And now we can go over here and just say, hey, your number is too low. Too low. Guess again. Too low, loser. Okay, too low, loser. Oh my goodness. Goodness, too high. Okay. That guess was too high. And I don't know, something else. Nope. Too high. And then correct notifications would be, hey, you got it right. Wow, you're so smart. That's correct. Next one is, that's right. First try. Wow. Okay. So now, instead of just generating one response, it's going to generate one of these response randomly whenever you submit a guess, right? So in order to do that, instead of writing these directly in, we're going to use a combination of this random.range and of these arrays. Now, adding random messages, how about personally attacking personally attacking the victim? You can. This is one of the benefits of how of making your own game. You can add in whatever you want. So if you want to be mean in your game, you can absolutely do that. If you want to be nice in your game, you could do that. In this case, I'm just doing a little bit more generic. Okay, but this is the correct responses, right? So correct notifications, we're going to do correct notifications. And then in order to select one of these at random, we do this open and close squared bracket, but we need a random number. So it's going to be between random.range, and it's going to be 0 is going to be the first one, and then the correct one is the next number is going to be correct notification.length. And we basically want to do that same thing over here for the too high. So this is going to be the high notifications. It's going to be random.range 0 high notification.length. And the low notification is going to be low notifications dot random dot range dot low notification dot length. And now whenever we play the game, and I'm going through that really fast, I didn't really explain a lot of it, but I'll explain why in a little bit. Okay, so let's take a guess. Let's say 20, because that is now an option now. Nope, too high. Let's click it again. And you'll see it generated, whenever I click it, there is a chance of it being the same message, but it can switch sometimes. That guess was too high. Oh my goodness, too high, you know? So depending on if you click, like you could get it the same message twice in a row. 3 and 7 happen least common in our lives. Prime and aren't used in like counting money. Use your brain tries to make a random number. There is a significant... Oh, yeah. That's interesting. Okay. That's a really interesting fact. I didn't know. So 15, still too high. Like I said, it's still... the possibility of it getting the same notification is still possible because we only have 3 options. But you can add more options and then that likelihood will go down. And you can also code it in a way so you will not get the same response twice in a row. But that's a little bit more... That's a little bit more complex to do, you know? Let's do 10. Oh my goodness, too high. Still too high. Damn, 2? Number is too low, so it's between 2 and 10. Okay, so let's do 5. Too low, guess again. 8. Too high, 7. That's right, perfect. And if we click submit again, wow, you're so smart. That's correct. You got it right. Wow, you're so smart. That's right, first try. Wow. Okay, So all these, so all of that is working perfectly. I'm not going to explain the code super a lot because this is big because I want you, and this is a huge hint, by the way, huge hint. I want you before the next stream, which, let me set a date. If you're watching this in the future, give yourself 2 days, okay? Because probably the live stream is already going to be out. It is not liking negatives. Have you noticed how you haven't had a single negative since testing? We did have a negative. I think the second time we guessed, it was -2 or something. It just happens to be positive for some reason, you know. And you know, maybe they're what is it called? The random generator is not. It's obviously not completely random, so the chance of it skewing is pretty high in one direction or another, but I think that's fine. And it could just be we just tried it like 5 times, so that's fine. What was I saying? Okay, before the next stream, which I think is going to be in 2 days, on Monday, okay? I'm going to stream again on Monday. On Monday, I am going to make the Magic 8 Ball, the seed, yes. On Monday, I'm going to make the Magic 8 Ball with you, but before Monday, I want you to give it a try. Yes, that is correct, I believe. Actually, I don't know if that's correct, but I'm assuming that's correct. The seed of the random number generator is usually the time. Okay, what was I saying? Before Monday, I want you to try to make a Magic 8 Ball game by yourself just to see how it goes. Now, this was a huge hint because I basically gave you all the information you need in order to make your Magic 8 Ball in this live stream. So if you want to try it yourself. And on Monday, we're going to try to go a little bit more advanced with the Magic 8 Ball. So just to give it a little bit more flavor and to go into more advanced topics. And but still having like a simple underlining of making a game, you know? So hopefully if you watch this stream, you should have another game set for you. And actually, before we go, let's do one congratulatory thing, and let's actually export this out and turn this into an actual game that we can play and share with others, okay? So in order to make this into an actual game, we're going to click on File, Build Profiles, and we're going to set this to Web. The reason why we're setting it to Web, makes you do it by yourself with srand from standard library.h by a Magic 8 Ball. Do you mean random? I'm not going to read that out. But yeah, Magic 8 Ball is just like a thing that you shake and then you flip it over and then it generates you ask it a question, you shake the ball and then it gives you a response. So that is the concept of a Magic 8 Ball. I will be doing that in Monday on the next stream. So it's a really simple project still. So hopefully you should be able to do it. Let's build out this project. So when we're uploading to itch, we have to take into account a couple of different things. First, we want to open up the player settings, which is going to be this little button over here. It says player settings. And then we're going to, you can over here change the company name. And this company name is going to be the thing that your game is saved under. Your game is saved under in your file structure. So in my case, I just named it Vera Studios. Product name is going to be the name of your game. The thing that we're mostly interested is if we scroll down to publishing settings over here, this compression format is going to by default going to be Brotli right here. We want to disable this if we're going to upload this to itch, sorry, not to Twitch. So disable this. And the reason why we're doing that is because just itch doesn't like any sort of compression when you upload to their website. So we have to disable that. And then we're going to make sure you're in web. We're going to do a clean build. And then we're going to do this over here. It's going to be second stream build. Press enter. select the folder. Okay. Also, I do want to note that I did this in the wrong order. If you want a more advanced challenge and you want something a little bit more difficult to go through, the last stream that I did about making your first game is actually more complicated than this stream. The last stream was like a 3-hour stream. This is coming up to a 2-hour stream. So if you want something a little bit more complicated, last stream we made a text adventure with music, with voiceover, and with actual like branching stories that you can actually make. So if you're interested in doing that, you can go ahead and follow that. This one we made a number guesser, and then the next stream is going to be a Magic 8 Ball, which again is going to be a little bit more advanced, just because I want to start like branching out to more advanced things and really seeing like how you can make your game like more personal to you. I think that text adventure is was a good introduction to that, because the text adventure is perfect. Make your own music, make your own art, make your own stories, write, it's perfect. I think a text adventure is a perfect first game. And also, before I left the stream, I did also want to share with you guys my very first game that I ever coded. This game was my very first game. I have literally, I coded a little bit of HTML, and I did a little bit of web development in high school. And a part of that, we also had to do a semester of game development in high school. And this is going to surprise you guys. I was actually not into it at all. I hated doing web development. I hated doing game development. I was more into web development. So I basically like cheated the whole class. I was just like going to people, I was like, hey, can you write my code? And they were like, okay. So I did not learn Unity at all in high school. And then once I got out of it, I started to get more into game development. So this next thing that I want to show you guys is my very first game that I ever made in Unity. And I was following a course. And yeah, I just want to show you guys, just to show how I started out and even though text adventure seems like such a simple thing, you can really build something out of it, So this is going to be that game that I want to show you guys. Hopefully this is not the one. We'll see. While I'm waiting for this to build, it takes a while. My gosh. You can, if you're watching a live stream, you can probably skip ahead. Is it Text 101 or is it, I really hope it's Text 101. Because it takes so long to open a project. Look at this. Look how long this is taking. Jesus. Boop, 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 boop. Look at how long it takes to build also. Jeez. Gosh. Both of these things. You know what Unity is? Unity is just a slow progress bar simulator. That's all it is. You think you're making a game? Nope. No worries. I'm just hoping. Thank you, Mr. Diamond Sword. I'm just hoping that this doesn't take forever, because I wanted to keep this stream under 2 hours, but we're already past 2 hours. And I also wanted to share this game just because last stream I felt like the game wasn't super interesting. Or it didn't look super interesting, so I feel like people didn't really get the full like concept of everything you could do. And like I said, like I mentioned, this game that I'm about to show you, I made as my first game that I was following a course. Okay, So this is the second build. This is the folder that it's going to generate for you. So we're going to open this up. We're going to select everything. We're going to right click, and then we're going to send to a compressed folder. And it's called build zip. We're going to say, we're going to call it second stream build, just like that. And now if you don't have one, go ahead and make an itch account for if you're watching this in the future, or for you right now. I think itch accounts are great. And itch is just a website where you can host your games. And a lot of people use it. A lot of games came from this. If you're thinking about like Among Us, originally was on itch before it went onto Steam and onto the Android market. And onto mobile and stuff. So this is like very much like an indie game community spot. So if you're into playing just random indie games, itch is your place. If you're into making random indie games, itch is also your place. Go ahead and make an account. And then if you go to your dashboard, you can create a new project. I have a bunch of projects on here. A lot of games don't actually have real loading bars for some reason. Humans can't understand or trust loading bars that are smooth, and since that's their usual activity, they changed it for trust. Yeah, good, interesting thing to note. Okay, so I already have a game. It's make this game. So I'm going to update this. I'm going to click on edit, and you can fill out the name of the game. It'll automatically change this. Let me change the name of make this game to make this game. Games made on live stream. And then we're going to upload a new file. I already had a previous file. This was for a different project that I'm working on. But I want to go into this, then go to builds, second live stream. Then we're going to upload this file. Make sure that you zip it. And then you're going to click, this file will be played in browser. And if you don't see that option, make sure that you have the kind of project set to HTML. By default, it's going to be set to downloadable. Make sure you set that to HTML. And then you can change the resolution of the display in here. And it is not mobile friendly anymore. And you can type in a description. So I'm going to type this in over here. I'm going to include this live stream into the section once I'm done with it. This is going to be in other game. No AI generation, custom. Okay, this is perfect. Save. And then when you view it, it's going to do this little loading. Then we're going to run the game. Give it a second. And now we have our game.
A guy walks towards you on the street and
hosted
he's really scary.
Right on itch. It's pretty exciting. And we have the number guesser that we just worked on. And this is also working on. This is also just, it just works, you know? So yeah, that is how you host a project on itch. Really simple, really fast. Like you might have not believed that putting up a game online, publishing a game online could be that easy, but it really was this easy. So put your game out on itch, make it web, and I'm really interested to see what you come up with. Make the Magic 8-Ball game, and hopefully this project is done loading. Let's go ahead and exit out of this. Yep, here it is. So this is my very first game that I ever worked on. And I put in a lot of work into the writing this story. And here, let me just go ahead and click play and check it out. Look, I have achievements too. By the way, this doesn't work anymore.
Hi, I'm the game developer behind Sister's Keeper, the game that you're about to play. Before I tell you about the story, let me run you down the controls. Each option will be displayed below, and you can select it by pressing either 1, 2, or 3. Try it now. Wow, great! Sorry, is that patronizing? Nice. As you can see, I don't really know what you picked, but that's not the case in the game. Throughout your playthrough, you will make decisions that will drastically impact the story. Speaking of, let me tell you about the story. Are you ready? Well, just don't click a button then. I mean, it's not timed or anything, so you could just like wait. Oh, by the way, clicking Q quits the game, so if you want to stop at any time, just press it. All your progress will be lost, so just make sure you don't click it by accident, which is what you might have done, you know, by pressing 2 because you weren't ready.
Hello,
Anyway,
Mr.
press
Zeth.
1 whenever you're ready, you know, to hear about the story.
No, I was just showing my old game. This is my very first game that I ever made, that I ever worked on. This is it. This is my very first game. I didn't know how to do saving. I didn't know a lot of stuff, and I just followed a tutorial. Look at all these these errors that I'm getting. You know, my code is very bad. I thought another soul. I thought, yo, what's up, dude? Yo, what's up? I guess a delay, but I just wanted to show, like, hey, and I was thinking about making, doing a live stream where I go into this project and look at the code. Yeah, it was a bunch of work. I followed a tutorial. I was going through a course. I followed a tutorial. Zeth was my very first subscriber. That's not true. I just lied about that. And then they didn't go as far as what I went. Like, they didn't have voiceover. They didn't have like the clicking sound effects or anything.
As you can see, I don't really know what you picked, but that's not the case in the game.
And they didn't have this
Decision.
audio stuff, but I learned how to do that all on my own. God, I spent so much time on this, and then I just didn't continue it. But I have like a whole story written out. Oh my gosh, this was so true. First subber, same. I just subbed today. But yeah, I was thinking it would be super interesting to go do a live stream of just me refactoring this code and seeing what a real refactor looks like now that I'm like 3 years out from this game. Yeah. But I didn't want to stay on for too long. I have a date. Sort of. Well, that's a joke. It's not real. Don't get excited. Tonight. Is there a game here? Can you play some? Yeah. Like, legit. Well, it's a text adventure, right? So all of these things over here are like a different like piece of text that is displayed. And it's a lot. And actually, here, let me see if I could actually find it. Sorry. Listen. Hey, you didn't show up. Oh, fuck. Hold on. Wait. Where is it? I did see it. Where is it? I just saw it. These are all my design files, by the way. Here it is. 3 years ago. It literally said 3 years ago. Audio adventure. This is the story tree for the game. And this is the first page. So this is like all the branching paths in the story. So if you want to read it, you want to go through it, you can pause it and go through. Just kidding. You're not able to read compression. Look at that. Look at all of this. I made all of this. And then there's a second page, but there's no connecting lines. And then there's a third page, but these are just starter pages. But yeah, I did a lot of work on this game. It's kind of sad. I was super excited about this game, and I got frustrated with the amount of work that I was putting into it, and I just never finished. Do you voice all this, or just no? I didn't even voice all of the text. I just voiced the beginning. Here, let me show. Actually, it's still going. Oh yeah, boom, there you go. Oh, I turned it off.
Oh, one more. Great. I'm glad you're excited as I am. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. At any point in the game, you can press Q to quit the game. Yes, even right now. But if you do, you'll lose all your progress. I'm a new game dev, so I haven't figured out how to save yet. Okay, that's everything for real this time. Let me know when you're ready.
Also, this is really crazy. I didn't know how to save, but I eventually learned how to save. Yeah. I eventually learned how to save, but I saved in such a bad way. And the way that I'm saving is I'm checking every single frame. Hey, did you change frames yet? And no, I didn't even do that. I am saving the text, all of the text, every single frame. Yeah. That's crazy. It is so bad. Yeah, this was very first game. I was so excited for it. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for watching. And if you want to learn how to make a game, go ahead, start this. This was 3 years ago. 3 years of progress. Look how much I've grown. I'm making a number guesser game now. From a text adventure to number guesser in 3 years. Okay, thank you guys, and I'll catch you next time. I'll catch you out. Peace out. Peace. Oh, Monday, new stream on Monday. Make that number, the Magic 8-Ball game. Monday I will be doing a stream, remaking that Magic 8-Ball game. Thank you. I'll catch you Monday. Peace out. Peace.